Should we remove statues of historical figures who are now controversial?
Came all the way to Arcata Panhandle.
I'm Adrienne Floreen, and I am at the Arcata Plaza in Arcata, California. This is the statue of President William McKinley. It's in Arcata, California for now, but it is about to go away. I came here basically to get a video of this statue, but I've got some ice cream that's melting, so I have to get in my car and drive home now. When I get home, I'll tell you a little bit more about this statue and why they're getting rid of it. I'm now back home. This is the frozen yogurt. It's actually not ice cream, it's frozen yogurt that cost, you're not going to believe this, $20.
What?
Yes, it was $20. When she weighed it and she said, that'll be $20, I paid her, but I was like in shock. Yeah, and then here are 2 donuts and a gluten-free muffin from the coffee house next door, both on the Arcata Plaza, one of the most expensive places in the country to shop, more expensive possibly than New York City or San Francisco. When the lady said, oh, that'll be $20, I resisted the urge to say, what? It actually reminded me of a scene in Eureka, the TV show Eureka, where the owner of the company that nobody likes goes into the coffee house, and because they don't like her, they charge her $20 for her latte. And the guy says it to her in the same way. He says, that'll be $20, but he was charging her $20 because he didn't like her. The place in Arcata charges everybody the same price for their ice cream or their frozen yogurt. It's... I guess not, huh? Just a really expensive place. Actually, it's just a really expensive town or a really expensive area to live in. Wouldn't you say? Yeah. Now that I am home, I'm going to talk about why the city of Arcata, California just recently voted to remove the statue of President William McKinley, who, by the way, was the 25th President of the United States, serving from 1897 until his assassination in September of 1901. If you read Wikipedia's page about President McKinley, it makes it seem like he might have been one of our best presidents. In fact, in the section about his legacy, they say that he died the most beloved president in history. So why does the city of Arcata, California, have such a big problem with him? Why do they want to remove his statue? Well, the answer is easy to find online. As long as there's not a cat laying on the keyboard and like turning up the brightness on my screen. Car, what are you doing? Here's the history of the statue of President McKinley in Arcata, California. The statue's ties to Arcata originate with capitalist George Zender, originally from Arcata, who supported the genocidal campaign against the indigenous people, the Wiyot of Humboldt County, which you can read about online, but it was basically when the white settlers in Humboldt County massacred the Native Americans on their holy day while they were on an island performing a religious ritual, and they brutally massacred them with machetes. So one of the people who either did that or sponsored that is responsible for the statue of President McKinley. And he also led the removal of Jewish and Chinese immigrants from Humboldt County. After personally meeting President McKinley, Zender commissioned an artist to build a bronze statue of McKinley with his right hand outstretched and the other hand holding the Annexation Treaty of Hawaii. So this explains why people want his statue removed from Humboldt County, California, and why they're also trying to remove a statue of him in Hawaii, on indigenous Hawaiian land. He was also responsible for colonizing the Philippines, Puerto Rico, Guam, the Virgin Islands, and Samoa. So apparently, he believed that America should expand its territory and start taking over other parts of the world, and he was starting with a bunch of small islands where America was then oppressing the native people. Many of them are still oppressed today. For example, look at the current situation in Puerto Rico, where it was destroyed by a hurricane, and Donald Trump did not order the government to really do anything to help rebuild it. A lot of people there still don't even have electricity, and the whole place is still in ruins. Puerto Rico is still oppressed by America, and that was started by President McKinley. But even though he did all of those terrible things, I don't think that we should remove the statue of him, because I'm sure he didn't only do terrible things, and he was really loved at the time. You know who he reminds me of? President Barack Obama. Think about it. A lot of people really loved Obama for a lot of reasons. Not only that he was the first black president, but that he said he was going to do all these great things when he first ran for office, like ending the war in Iraq and closing Guantanamo. But then he didn't close Guantanamo. He sent more troops to Iraq. And he killed all these people, including a few American citizens, in drone strikes. So he ended up doing all these horrible things. But now we've got Donald Trump as a president, and he's so much worse that he not only makes Obama look great, he even makes George Bush look great. Or at least better a lot of the time. So it would be like if we built a statue of Obama right now, and then 100 years later, people are like, oh no, he did all these horrible things, he killed all these innocent people. That statue represents America's atrocities, we've got to rip that statue down. It's like how they're removing statues of Confederate generals and stuff in the South. I don't think that they should remove any of these statues. Those Confederate generals may have been fighting for the side that we now think is wrong. However, they were fighting because they were being invaded by the North, and there was going to be a war, and people were going to die, and their families were going to die if they didn't fight. And while I'm sure that, being able to keep slaves was one of their main motivations, protecting their land from being invaded was also one of their main motivations. And some of those generals are the ancestors of people who are currently alive, not only in the South, but probably in other places now because of how people spread around all across America. So rather than remove the statues of the Confederate generals, why not put up a plaque that says they fought for our ancestors' right to do something that we now think is wrong? Wouldn't it be more appropriate to put up a plaque that says that than to rip down the statue completely? So I think they should do something similar with the statue of President McKinley in Arcata. I think they should put up a plaque listing all of the good things that he did and also all of the bad things. It should tell his complete story, including how he died by being assassinated and how people apparently loved him at the time. Sorry, I think my cat's knocked something over. If you heard that loud noise and you were wondering what it was. Anyway, they should tell his full story. They should talk about everything he did right, everything he did wrong, and why people think he's so controversial now and think he's such a bad guy now. And they should talk about why the statue itself is so controversial, because McKinley apparently did bad things to Native Americans, and the guy who was responsible for massacring a bunch of the local Native Americans here was a big supporter of his and had a statue made of him. And then the statue's holding the treaty for the annexation of Hawaii, which a lot of Native Hawaiians are still upset about. And Native people, support each other's rights. So if you messed with one tribe, another tribe's going to be upset about it because they're all tribes. And they've kind of all been oppressed, so they kind of all feel like they're somehow connected together. Even though they're all different tribes, they're all, indigenous people. And if you'd like to know more, this really cool article talks about a lot of the things he did that are controversial now, such as starting wars. And it also explains why local towns in Humboldt County, California are named the names they're named. They're apparently named after the places that America conquered under President McKinley. I'm sure you can find a list of really bad stuff that all presidents did. I mean, George Washington owned slaves, didn't he? But he founded our country. Should we rip down the statues of him because he owned slaves? And what about the Revolutionary War? People died in that war, right? I mean, it's the war that started our country, but you could argue that war is bad, and he started one, so that means that we shouldn't honor him. You really could. You could literally do research and find a horrible, horrible atrocity committed by probably every single president that America has ever had. And it's because society's morals change over time, hopefully for the better. A lot of people like to think so, but sometimes they change for the worse too. Sometimes it goes back and forth over several generations. At the time, these people were considered to be heroes because they were doing not only what they thought was right, but what society, or at least the parts of society that were the people that liked them, not the people that they were victimizing, thought was right. We may now think what they did was wrong because our morals have changed and have gotten better, but at the time, they thought that they were doing what was right, and a lot of other people did too. And that's why they built statues of them. And it's also why they are important to our history. To take down the statue says that part of history doesn't matter, and I think that it does matter. Because even if we disagree about the morality of what those people did now, the fact is they did do it, and it did have an impact on society. What they did was important, even if we think it was bad, because it made a difference. And without that difference, the world today wouldn't be what it is. Something would be different. Maybe it would be better, but it would be different. Those people and what they did are part of our history. Tell me what you think in the comment section of this video. Should we remove statues of historical figures who are now controversial, or should we put up a placard explaining why the statue was put up, meaning why people liked them at the time that they put the statue up, and why the statue is now controversial, and why people now want to take it down? Let me know what you think in the comment section of this video. And please like this video, share this video, watch my other videos, and subscribe to my channel. Bye!